And jury selection continues right now, even as we speak. Here's a live picture of what's happening inside that Sanford, Florida courtroom. As we can see, it looks like Bernie Delorando is up addressing probably one of the potential jurors, and you see the judge sitting there. Here to explain the role of the witnesses and what takes place today in our courts are our guests, our Rise News legal contributor, Seema Iyer. She is a criminal defense attorney, as well as Jocelyn Cinquino, who is a psychologist, jury consultant, and partner in the firm MMG Consulting. Hello, ladies. Great to see all of you. Well, they're getting close, and we saw that live picture. Jury selection is continuing. I believe that they have interviewed 49 people. They have chosen 32 of the 40 that will go on to the second round.
It's like American Idol for jurisprudence.
If only we could dial in and vote. We would move this along much faster. It was so interesting. I was planning on talking about this second, but can we talk about it first in the control room, and that is the fact that race came up yesterday in the questioning of the jurors. What were your impressions as you listened to it?
In terms of that issue being addressed in jury selection itself, it's a huge role that it's going to play in this case. And in terms of how forthcoming these potential jurors are and exactly what they think about this issue is going to be critical in how they end up deciding the case. People might not be as forthcoming about their issues and their opinions about race because they don't want to appear racist, or they don't want to really be honest about what they feel.
Exactly, right. And listen, we have the expert here today. I mean, Jocelyn knows about picking a jury, and that is the starting point here, is that jurors, no matter how hard they try to be honest, they just can't get there. And that's what's holding them back. And particularly the race issue was that whether these potential jurors were aware of the protests and how, if at all, that affected them.
And I think so far, I was looking for the number, I thought I had made note of it, and you guys might know off the top of your head, and that is the racial makeup of the potential pool so far. Okay, here it is. More than 2/3 are white, overwhelmingly female, and then those females skew middle age. Jocelyn, what does that tell you about what this jury might end up looking like?
It might end up looking like that. And, you know, very often your jury will mirror what you see in the venue itself. So you might get those kinds of people. That might be what this jury ends up looking like.
And what's your speculation in terms of where they will be in their sensibilities about race, about the use of force, about stand your ground, all those key issues here?
Again, I think it's going to be really dependent on their life experience and what life has taught them about those kinds of things. How proactive they need to be in making sure that they're taking care of themselves, that they're protecting themselves.
Well, let's not forget also that it is the South, and what they think about firearms and guns is frankly different than what we think about it here up north. So they're going to have different perspectives. And again, it's that that pool was so close to the protests that they're going to be more skewed as well. But it could be either side. We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, it'll be so interesting to say. And of course, because they're in this pool, they have in some way answered a question that says that even though they've seen the information, even though they have whatever opinions that they have, that they can view the evidence in an unbiased manner, right?
That's right.
If they're being honest.
If they're being honest. Well, you know, we kind of,
you have to go with that.
You kind of have to take that in. Okay, so let's talk about the witnesses. That's sort of our theme for today. And the witnesses in this case are a little bit unique in that there is no, as I understand it, direct eyewitness of Trayvon Martin actually being shot. So I'll start with you, Seema, how will witness testimony be used, and is it less important or more because there was no eyewitness?
I think the most crucial piece of evidence now and why it's being focused on is that 911 call, because it is somewhat of an independent corroboration to the events, depending on whether the experts are going to find that it was Zimmerman screaming or crying, or was it Trayvon. So that is perhaps the only corroboration. The other evidence is just pieces they are going to put together to present either side, meaning the prosecution's
And what would those
show.
pieces be? Give me a little bit of a grocery list.
I think some of the pieces are the evidence, the independent evidence, the injuries on Zimmerman, the autopsy and the injuries on Trayvon Martin, the fact that Trayvon Martin did not have a weapon, and also, as well as the crime scene itself, like taking apart the crime scene and viewing that type, you know, the DNA, whatever was in that crime scene is independent as well. Also looking at what both of them were doing before the incident and their state of mind, some of which is not going to come in terms of Trayvon Martin.
And two very interesting witnesses or potential witnesses will be the ones that, the experts that might evaluate the 911 tape. I want to talk about that in just a second. But also witness number 8, Trayvon Martin's girlfriend who was on the phone but shortly before the shooting.
Right, so the girlfriend, this was an earlier application by Mr. O'Mara to get in Trayvon's hostile text messages and phone call with witness number 8, the girlfriend, right before the incident to show his state of mind, therefore to go to the self-defense. And right now, witness number 8 is not looking that credible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking good for her. And before we get to that, because I want to come to you about another issue, let's talk very quickly about the fact that Judge Deborah Nelson still hasn't ruled on whether or not she's going to allow expert testimony about this 911 tape.
And Jocelyn and I were discussing this before we went on here, and what's troubling, I think, to both of us is that I would never, ever start picking a jury. I would never address a jury until I knew about what evidence was coming in and what witnesses would testify in support of that evidence. So I can't believe this is still going on. This hearing is just never ending. And after they pick a jury, that jury may not, be able to independently assess that 911 call.
And don't you want to know what the potential juror might feel about this call, about the veracity of the expert?
Absolutely, that is critical. And as we were discussing, you have experts on both sides. Prosecution has their expert that says, yes, I can figure this out. Yes, I can tell you it's Mr. Martin and not Mr. Zimmerman. However, you've got the defense experts on the other side saying it's not even possible. And one of them, for example, is an FBI agent. We were talking before. Jurors may have perceptions about FBI in general that can be negative, and that makes that expert start out on the wrong foot, even if he hasn't said a word.
All pretrial rulings, that's why they're called pretrial rulings. It's, for instance, your criminal record. That criminal record, it has to be decided of the accused before you start a trial, because you have to be able to ask the jury, so if you find out my client's been arrested before, are you going to hold that against him, or is it just one factor in his credibility?
And finally, very quickly, does the judge have to make a ruling before the jury is impaneled?
Yes. Do you agree with me? Yes. I think, frankly, it's preposterous.
You're baffled by this, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. And so, yes.
All right, we're going to stop it right there. Seema Iyer, thank you. We're going to see you later in the show to talk about some other legal rulings. And Jocelyn Cinquino, thank you as always.
Thank you.
We'll see you again, we hope. And we turn now to another story making the headlines. A former National Security Agency contractor who outed classified U.S. intelligence programs is defending his decision to go public. The Guardian newspaper set up what it says was an online question and answer session with Edward Snowden. He warned the truth is coming and he quoted, cannot be stopped. From a secret location in Hong Kong, someone claiming to be Edward Snowden defended his outing of classified U.S. intelligence programs, and the former NSA contractor challenged authorities to do anything about it. The U.S. government is not going to be able to cover this up by jailing or murdering me, Snowden wrote in an online chat. Truth is coming, and it cannot be stopped. For an hour and 40 minutes, Snowden answered questions on the website of The Guardian. That's the British newspaper which published Snowden's leaks detailing the National Security Agency's sweeping collection of internet and telephone data. Snowden, who promised to fight extradition from Hong Kong, said the U.S. government has destroyed any possibility of a fair trial at home, openly declaring me guilty of treason.
I could be, rendered by the CIA.
Snowden said he came forward to rebut what he called lies from U.S. officials. He chastised the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, for testifying to Congress in March that the NSA had not wittingly collected data on Americans. Boldly lying to the public without repercussion, Snowden wrote, is the evidence of a subverted democracy. Snowden said he disclosed details about programs he feels violate civil liberties and privacy. I did not reveal any U.S. operations against legitimate military targets, he wrote. Snowden dismissed allegations he might be a Chinese spy, but he did not directly answer a question asking if he had ever traded U.S. secrets for political asylum. The head of the NSA back on Capitol Hill defending the eavesdropping program, and that tops our Across Our Eyes today. Colin Campbell joins us live from Washington, D.C. with the update. So we're going to start there with the NSA. Hey, Colin, always good to see you. So NSA Director Keith Alexander back on the hot seat.
That's right. As Snowden tries to defend himself, Keith Alexander, director of the NSA, will try to defend the program's actions. This is a open House Intelligence Committee hearing run by Representative Mike Rogers out of Michigan. This hearing is actually designed to show how the NSA surveillance program protected the lives of American citizens and how the disclosure of the NSA program may have helped U.S. adversaries. Also, one of the key witnesses will be Deputy Attorney General James Cole. So they will try to defend this program and why it's necessary, and that's what we're supposed to take from today's hearing.
It seems like these hearings never end. This story is not going away anytime soon. A very surprising story that came to light yesterday. There was a raid at 7-Elevens. Tell us about that.
Yeah, several 7-Elevens, in fact, up to 14. Federal authorities say that the managers of these 7-Elevens ran their stores almost like modern-day plantations. They arrested 14 store owners and say that they are guilty of fraud, identity theft, and concealing undocumented workers. They say that these individuals took identities from dead Pakistanis or members of the Pakistani community, gave them to undocumented workers, and sometimes forced these workers to work up to 100 hours a week while they stayed in boarding houses. And these arrests were mainly in New York and Virginia. However, federal authorities say these arrests will not be limited to just these states. They plan on expanding their investigation to 7 states among 40 different 7-Elevens. Debbie.
And speaking of expansion, women get an expanded role in combat. Tell us about that.
That's right. It's an idea that U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel has already signed off on, and this could put women in combat positions as early as 2015 for Army Rangers and 2016 for Navy SEALs. And they are currently reevaluating and reassessing the programs that look at the mental and physical aptitude that it would take to be in more physical combat roles. And this could put women in roles such as infantry, commando positions, and other roles that they were previously excluded from.
All right. Colin Campbell, thank you so much for the update.
Right.
We appreciate it.
We'll see you later.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
And this is Arise America.